This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, we've got a weird update on Britt Baker and AEW. And this WWE superstar was heavily fined for breaking an unwritten rule. This is legit, so you want to stick around to hear about that. Also, we're on a road to WrestleMania. Feels a little underwhelming. I feel like DocNJock are going to shit just a little bit on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. This is also your AEW Revolution review. We're going to tell you about how that pay-per-view went down and some of the storylines coming out of it. Help me break it all down, sort it all out. He's the one, he's the only. He is the Doc John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Yeah, it's real simple, really, for the week. It was Revolution awesome. The rest, what the fuck? It was weird. Dynamite was terrible. SmackDown was boring. I was like, wow, what the heck happened? It was like a spring break WWE kind of week. It was like, what are we doing here creatively? What? People that are feuding with other people now are joining up. Promos didn't hit. It was just a crazy week. But yeah, let's get into it. Revolution, listen, let's just start with that. It was awesome. It did what it needed to do. But yeah, I was absolutely right. There was no way I even made it to the semi-main event. I was out. So I did it the exact way I said last week. I watched it in like 2 matches at a time. Cuz, come on. You could have cut out 3-4 matches, put them on Dynamite, and you could have just had those 3 matches on Dynamite make the week so much better. You could have had this thing end at 11:30. It was good, but it was crazy because, I mean, it really does feel, cuz, like the producers don't ever like talk to each other. How many times is everybody going to kick out at one on the finishing moves? It's like, it's kind of like I would be right up in your shit, cuz I'd be like, hey, I did that. What are you doing? Like, you're ruining my moment by doing your thing. Like, come on. Like, I just think that all they got to do is like, hey, guys, let's have this thing called a meeting. And everybody that has an idea, let's throw it out there and document it so that you don't do the same thing I do in the next match. But other than that, I thought Revolution did what it was supposed to do. You could have encapsulated that as maybe even argue one of the best pay-per-views AEW ever had.
Yeah, it was a really, really good pay-per-view. And to your point, it takes away from the specialness of the move. You have wrestlers kicking out at 1 in the FTR Young Bucks match, only to have Brody King kicking out at 1 in the Swerve Strickland match. And it just takes away from the impact of what's going on and the impact of those moves and the impact of that moment. And like you said, just guys, have a producer meeting. It's hey, this is what we're laying out. This is what we're planning. And then like, if somebody else does something, like, here's the thing, you just make a switch. You just make a little bit of an adjustment. If you see something take place in the show and you're like, oh crap, we were going to do that, just adjust. It's not that big a deal. Overall, it was a good pay-per-view. And this is the thing that I think we've been talking about this for a long time, but I think this is something that we really need to just kind of wrap our minds around. It feels like Dynamite, Collision, they're usually good, or they're at least okay. AEW pay-per-views rock, though. AEW pay-per-views are fantastic. Are they way too long? Absolutely. Are you in for a marathon night? Absolutely. Are you going to stay up till, I don't know, we live on the East Coast, so like, are you going to, we're on Eastern Standard Time. Are you going to be up until 12, almost 1 o'clock with an AEW pay-per-view? Yeah, you got to strap in. They're way too long, but they are fantastic. They are really, really good shows. And all that being said, Revolution was one of their better shows, one of their best shows, maybe. So let's kick this thing off. We have a 0-hour tag match. You got Boom and Doom. They defeat the Infantry. 0 hour, you've got the AEW TBS Championship match. You got Willow Nightingale defending and defeating Lena Cross. That's a bit of a setup for what takes place later in the show. We've got our 21-man AEW National Champion Blackjack Battle Royal. Again, this is another one of those belts that AEW has that they have way too many belts. All that being said, it's cool to see Jungle Man Jack Perry get the win. He ends up defeating Ricochet and 19 others. Now we get into our main card. And this is when things really start to build up and pick up. And specifically with this very first match, fantastic match. And there's a lot that's come out of it, and there's a lot that carried over onto Dynamite. So it's AEW Men's World Tag Team Championship match. FTR ends up defeating the Young Bucks. At the end of the match, you have Adam Copeland and Christian Cage return as a duo. They've been away for 6 months, and they confront FTR. Now, all of this sets up for a match that we're going to have in the future, and this also foreshadows for a match that we're going to have sometime after that. So we fast forward a little bit and go to Dynamite. We have a fun 6-man tag match where at the end of it, the Bucks cut a promo putting over FTR and making it known that they're coming for their tag belts, only for Cope and Cage to show up and tell us at AEW's next pay-per-view they'll be challenging for those titles. And there's this little back and forth where at the very, very end, you've got the Young Bucks and you've got Cope and Cage holding onto the belts opposite of each other. And at a certain point, the Young Bucks just let the titles go. And it's a little bit of foreshadowing of what we're going to get. In this case, it really feels like AEW is doing some long-term booking, and they're booking out what we've got going on with Cope and Cage against FTR, but they're also foreshadowing Cope and Cage versus the Bucks as a tag match. Do you like this approach that they're trying here? Because a lot of times we feel like sometimes with AEW, they just kind of throw stuff at the wall. There seems like there's a game plan. It seems like, hey, we've got this set up and we've got this following. And it seems as though at a certain point we're getting Cope, Cage and the Young Bucks for the titles. The one thing I don't like about this, I think this is smart. I think this is well done. The one thing I will say that I do not like is it feels like we know who's winning at the next pay-per-view. And that kind of takes some of that away. And that's the one thing I don't like. I don't like going into a pay-per-view knowing who's winning that match. What are your thoughts on the match between FTR and the Young Bucks, and then the foreshadowing about what's to come between FTR, Cope and Cage, and then Cope and Cage and the Young Bucks?
Yeah, look, it was cool to see, but I just can't believe, man, how time flies. When Edge returned, now they're both like 52, 53.
Yeah,
it's.
Dude, I was talking to Alyssa about it, and I was like, Edge looks like he's a rough. Like he's a rough mid-50s. Like he looks like he's that biker at the bar who's still trying to pick up the bartender and does heavy shots, while Cage looks more like that sophisticated business guy who's banging the 20-year-old, but you know he's a good-looking 50-year-old. Like they look
right.
Father time is catching up.
And what's funny is, and I know most people don't have thoughts like this, but I go, oh my God, AJ Styles retired at like this age. And I tell myself, could I have one match? Bro, I'm like creaking trying to get from the coffee maker to the studio. I'm like, oh, my back, my neck. I'm like, how the hell are these guys wrestling 50 matches a year? I can barely do a lunge. And I'm like, oh, the next day, I'm like, what the hell did I do to myself? So you're like 52. Like, no. I think that, let's just be honest. And if I was, in the next life, when you and I are bookers, I think that it would be, you just got to retire at 45. Like, I don't care. I know you can have matches, but you got to transition into management. Dude, career should be from like 20 to 45, and you should start winding it down at 40. Even though these guys can peak and have matches, but oh my goodness, I can see why AJ Styles wanted to call it a day. But to your point, I think that, it's nice to see Edge and Christian and do their thing. The Young Bucks can still do it. They're great placeholders. FTR, man, I just give them credit. Like, they are starting to really realize their potential. I just like to see more of them. I feel like they need to feel bigger. Like, I just feel like they're in the mix, but they keep getting overshadowed by other tag teams. And yeah, it's obviously Edge and Christian are going to do their thing, and Cope is going to be, somebody going out pretty soon. But let's just enjoy it for what it is. And when these guys retire, you're going to appreciate it. But I actually kind of feel like Christian's run has kind of faded out. Like, he got to the crescendo of a heel, and then time off. It's like you never really paid it off. So hopefully they can this run with the tag team can pay something off.
Yeah, hopefully. And look, in the promo that he cut, his part of the promo, it still walked that line of being a heel. He's not full blown babyface. It feels like both Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are on the spectrum. They're a little bit different. They're closer to the middle with each other, but they're a little bit different. Copeland, obviously, more babyface. Cage, more more heel. And you kind of got that with the promos that they cut and the way that they set this up. It will be interesting to see how these two end up working together. And if they look, you know that they're a fantastic tag team, but how are their dynamics going to be with the personalities and the characters that they're trying to play? Again, Adam Copeland, more babyface, Christian Cage, more heel. We'll see. Time will tell. Our next match was a singles match. Toni Storm ends up defeating Marina Shafir. I myself think it's a bit of a booking mistake for Marina Shafir, but it sets up what came next as Ronda Rousey showed up and is now a part of AEW. There's some question marks on whether or not she's fully all elite or if she's just kind of moonlighting and spotlighting. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on her being in AEW. For me, it doesn't do a whole lot.
Wet fart.
I didn't care for her run in WWE, and I don't necessarily care for her as a person. So she doesn't really do it for me. But I guess cool for a storyline, maybe? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, all I kept thinking was, okay, cool. I'm excited to see Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano. But all I kept thinking about in all the promos was, I really like Gina Carano. She reminds me of Sensational Sherry.
How good Gina Carano still looks.
Yes, yeah. I was like, I kept thinking, man, they should get her. You know, but I don't know. I think maybe a big monkey wrench got put in the plans. Maybe I do think that, you know, Ronda Rousey might have been set up with Toni Storm, but now in the news, I'm sure you'll share something that took place. But I do think that there's opportunities now for Ronda Rousey to help people get over. But yeah, it just sucks because it kind of looks like she's looking for a paycheck because she's an outsider. And when she was in, she kind of she went scorched earth on WWE. I get it. I get why people do that, but you recognize she's one of those people that's not really from the business. She's an MMA person and she's in there not really like Logan Paul is totally different. Like he took to it and now he's a performer and he's one of the dudes. Ronda Rousey is like an outsider who's coming in for a check. And in the end, I just think that it's a name that Tony Khan can say, ooh, it's promotion. I get it, but I don't think it's going to land with the audience.
You know, this is, I don't mean for us to go down the psyche of Ronda Rousey, but what it feels like for me is she was, as an MMA fighter, she was absolutely fantastic. She was unworldly. She was so damn good. And all of a sudden, she went from kind of being this scrappy fighter to being the prize fighter, and she got a lot of pub and a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
And I think she really liked it. And then she got knocked out. And then she got knocked out again. And then basically her career was over within 3 matches. Like, done. And I think it's been a fight to try to keep that spotlight and a fight to try to keep that pub and a fight to try to keep that credibility since. And I think she goes about it the wrong way. Going scorched earth on WWE and basically throwing the business underneath the bus while you're taking a paycheck or just after you're taking a paycheck, that just doesn't work. So I think it's just been a bit of a fight for her to be in the spotlight, and I don't know. We'll see what comes of it. Like I said, I'm not a fan of her, so it's what it is. Mm-hmm. Our next match was the AEW Continental Championship match. Jon Moxley ends up defeating Takeshita. This was a really, really good match. Takeshita obviously showing more signs that he is separating from the Don Callis family as Jon Moxley goes to shake his hand at the end. He hesitates, and then he shakes his hand. All that happens, and then Will Ospreay comes back. And Will Ospreay's back from a neck surgery. And he confronts Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. And then on Dynamite, he ends up taking out Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta with garbage cans and just flying all over the place, only for Pac to come out and basically hit him from the side with an elbow, and then him and Pac get into it going up the ramp. Look, Will Ospreay's back. I think it's fantastic. I have a bit of a problem with him coming back and facing Jon Moxley immediately. Mm-hmm. I know for story continuity, Jon Moxley's the guy who is supposed to have put him on the shelf with the neck injury. Jon Moxley's character has evolved since then. And Jon Moxley has done a lot of work to tell this evolving story about himself and basically going from one of the dirtiest heels to being more of a gray character and more on the side of being a babyface. Will Ospreay comes back. Will Ospreay, obviously, babyface. Unless we're going to get a little bit of a switcheroo here where Will goes heel and Jon goes even more babyface, I'm not sure how this works. For me, this disrupts Jon Moxley's story continuity, and I don't necessarily like it because the way I see it, Will Ospreay is to one extreme as far as white meat babyface goes, and Jon Moxley, this now has to put Jon Moxley back in that other extreme where he's fought for the entire Continental Classic, even before then, to get more to that midline where he kind of teeters in both worlds, where he's a heel and a face. What did you think of the match between him and Takeshita? And then what are your thoughts on his continuity possibly being disrupted by Will Ospreay's return?
Yeah, isn't it funny? Oh, everyone's like, okay, good. Let's keep Will Ospreay healthy. The first thing he does is like a 360 off the top rope. You're like, wait a minute. Like, no, Will, go. Like, oh my God, dude. So, look, man, the guy's a superstar. And all I kept thinking all week was, man, he's only like 31, 32 years old. And he's already had a major surgery. He's already back in 6 months. Like, great. Let's take it easy. Let's ease him back in. All of a sudden, I'm like, Dynamite turns on and I'm like, in the opening contest, Will Ospreay. Oh, who's he going to fight? Huh? I'm like, it was like a superstar style match, 8 minutes long with some guy that he doesn't deserve to be in the ring with Will Ospreay. You could have took it easy. Like, you could have had a pay-per-view match, build up. Like, you got to treat Will Ospreay like an attraction, not like a main event guy that shows up in the opening match of a show after a pay-per-view. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have Will Ospreay. Like, he is arguably top 3 wrestlers in the world, and he's in an opening match. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if this guy gets to 40 with his style, if he's going to keep doing it to this degree. I just hope
him and Darby Allin both.
Yeah, you got to think longevity. You got to think like, okay, this guy only needs to do 20 to 30 matches a year, and he can come out and do promos and do a lot more things. Like, don't wear this guy into the ground. And I think that sometimes every wrestler deserves to be treated differently. Some wrestlers want to work 300 days a year, and sometimes you got to be like, Will, you're special. And when you keep showing up in matches like you did on Dynamite, it kind of diminishes who you are. It's like, okay, we just wasted Will Ospreay's first match return. It's like, it's a big deal. Like, you can sell tickets, you can make money, you can do promos. Will Ospreay's going to return at the next pay-per-view. It's in like a couple weeks. Like, we're going to blink of an eye, and you and I are going to preview another pay-per-view. So I don't understand talent management that's happening at AEW. And sometimes you just got to sit Will Ospreay down and say, listen, bloke, we know what you want to do. We know you want to fly around, but pick and choose your spots. Like, you don't do it right upon your return. And you're right. I would have maybe had Will Ospreay work up to Jon Moxley, even if it would have been someone from the Death Riders, like a Pac or a Claudio, a warm-up match. Like, Pac is awesome. Pac could get a rub from Will Ospreay, somebody that you can kind of get into it with, but you're going right to the top. So I get it, but you can see differences where booking could be different.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Our next match was the AEW Women's World Tag Team match. Divine Dominance ended up defeating Babes of Wrath. Throughout the match, Willow Nightingale was selling an injury from her earlier match against Leanna Cross, so it made sense. I think this is a smart move. This is what they wanted to do weeks ago, but there was an injury that kind of threw it out of the mix when Penelope Ford got hurt. So this makes sense to do it here and do it now. So Divine Dominance will get the belts. Sounds like when they go to their show for Wembley, their pay-per-view, you'll end up having, Birds of Prey. They'll end up matching up against each other. So you have your face and you have your heels. And it seems like that was the long-term plan, but it got stalled out a little bit due to injury. Our next match was our singles match. We had Swerve taking on Brody King. Swerve ends up beating Brody King. This was a bloody match. This was fantastic. This was a lot. This was everything you hoped it was going to be. This was that violence that you wanted, and you got it. In the end, Swerve is getting ready to essentially curb stomp Brody King's face through a cinder block. Kenny Omega shows up to save Brody. Then on Dynamite, we get the announcement that Kenny and Swerve will meet this week coming up. And Kenny Omega's EVP status is up for grabs. Swerve cuts a promo where he sits down in the middle of the ring and just kind of goes in a little bit on Kenny Omega. A few minutes later, we get the announcement that we're going to have a match for this upcoming week's Dynamite. Do you want to see this match on Dynamite? Because I feel like this should probably be saved for that pay-per-view. I feel like you could have stretched this out a week, let Kenny respond, and then, I don't know, have a couple dust-ups, and then we get the match, we get the build at the pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on them just kind of immediately going into this and then putting Kenny's EVP status on the line? The EVP status is probably the more tricky part for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think it needs to be brought up. I don't know what that necessarily lends to anything. Like, I feel like you had to work that in real strange like. Just like Swerve being the number one contender for the number one contendership, even Swerve was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I just found out. So it just kind of seems like, again, some AEW booking being done on the fly. A little bit weird. A little bit weird, my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be treated like a title. I don't care about, like, what are you going to do with the EVP status?
Yeah.
Are you going to book something better? Are you going to make some decisions? Like, okay, let's say you win it. Swerve is the EVP. Okay, great. I'm going to book myself in the world. Oh, you know what? You're just thinking on the fly here.
Does it come with more money?
No. You know what? I just thought about it as I was, I got golf on here and listening and thinking, booking always. You have this little quirk now that happened from the main event. Maybe Swerve as an EVP can undo that quirk, because that's my biggest note here as I'm reading my notes. I just the main event stipulation that happened, I just find stupid. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's,
we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about
that. Maybe we can foreshadow that Swerve wins this and he's the new EVP and he can undo shit that's stupid. And maybe he can make that a gimmick. Like, he could actually bring up the stuff. Tony, can we lower these pay-per-views? That would be funny. He's sitting in an office and Tony and Swerve are sitting there and Tony's like, okay, congratulations, you're the new EVP. What are you thinking? And he's like, Tony, man, we got to cut these pay-per-views down. And Tony's like, what? He's like, I thought you were going to say more. So you could have some funny bits there, some inside baseball, and have some fun with it. But I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. It's cool to see Kenny Omega back, and I'm excited to see what he can do with Swerve. But Swerve looks like a big deal now. And I hope you can continue to elevate him, because he is somebody that I think is one of the rare people that came over from WWE, and you realize, okay, he's actually kind of a guy. And now you got to cement him as it. Believability, credibility. You've put him in that spot, kind of like Roman Reigns, where, okay, we know you're that guy, but I'm not believing it based on the results. Now show me something, and let's get after it.
Yeah. All right, our next match was the AEW Women's World Championship match. You had Thekla defeating Chris Statlander. That was followed by the AEW World Trios match. Jet Speed and Mystico defeat the Don Callis family. Our next match was a singles match. It was Andrade El Idolo beating Bandito. This was a fantastic match. Probably went a little bit too long, but it was a really, really fun match to watch. This match had me confused. The next one, it was a Tornadoes Trios match. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong end up defeating the Dogs. I need you to help explain this to me, because I don't understand it. You beat this new group at least 3 times. Then on Dynamite, Gabe Kidd ends up losing in a coffin match to Darby Allin, and it was honestly the best response I seen to what we got on Dynamite was Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote. It was that type of violence. It was so cartoony. It was like they did this whole car scene where the car flipped over, and then you had Darby supposedly pushing Gabe Kidd across half of California on a construct. It was a like a loading box. And look, this whole thing was a setup so Darby can challenge MJF, which I don't even understand. I don't get any of this. You have a brand new group, and you introduce David Finlay, and you should be off to the races. Instead, the brand new group loses every match that they have. You then follow this up after a monster pay-per-view where that group lost again. So they have zero credibility at this point. For Gabe Kidd to challenge Darby Allin, you do cartoon violence, and then Darby's done. Gabe Kidd's dead in a coffin, and he's moving on to MJF. And to me, it just feels like right now MJF has so many different guys around him that you've got storylines with. You don't need another one. I felt like you could have done something a little bit special here, made the Dogs feel relevant, and made them feel like an actual faction instead of just jobbers. And instead, we've got these dudes who go out there and get beat constantly by Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Roderick Strong. And this is all just a setup so Darby can move on. It just doesn't. This in my estimation is a problem. I don't get this. I don't understand this booking. Can you help explain it to me? Because I feel like the Dogs have zero credibility as a faction. I don't care about them. I don't. And David Finlay was supposed to be a huge signing, and I don't care about any of these guys. Gabe Kidd, I want to get into his character. Like, I really want to get into his character, but after what I've seen on Dynamite, I don't care anymore. Like, I was really trying to get invested with this guy, and I just don't care anymore because of how they portrayed this. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm frustrated with the introduction of this new group. I don't feel like they're important at all.
Right. And it is one of those deals where we're all focused on the team that's losing. But at the same token, it is also a way to, if you look at it from the other side, if we were talking to Tony Khan, he would say, well, yeah, but at the same token, I want to elevate, the guys like Roderick Strong. I want to elevate Darby Allin. I want to elevate Orange Cassidy. And by beating them, it has more value because these guys are name guys. But see, that's the thing where you and I think, agree is the marks understand who these guys are. The bigger audience is like, oh, who are these new guys? And one, obviously, you're appealing to just a hardcore segment of your fans that are like, oh, these new guys are in, and now they're going to lose to, our established guys, which I get. But at the same token, there is, in my opinion, and you and I would agree, more value in elevating a team first that's new and then having them have better feuds. So now it doesn't look like Darby Allin beat anybody. It doesn't look like anything. It's like, okay, these new guys are in and they're jobbers and they come from a less than. And so exactly, the majority of the outside world, the marks will be like, oh, okay, we get it. But that's a small segment. The larger world are like, oh, these are jabrones. And that's not what you want to do. You want to establish, I think the tried and true way to do things universally is a new person comes in and they're special. Like, wow, here's what this guy did in Japan. This guy's legit. And all the new people, all the established wrestlers are like, oh, man, we got to worry about David Finlay. He's now in here. Another guy? Oh, my God, make him feel important. You got to make a guy so that you can beat a guy. That's always kind of been the tried and true statement. Is that's why in promos, a lot of times you'll hear even the bad guys say, yeah, you've won 6 Intercontinental Championships and you've been at the top of the mountain, but now it's, you know what I mean? They always, the theory has always been, you got to make a guy so that when you beat him, it means more. But I think Tony Khan does not ascribe to that. And he's like, you're in a match, you lose. And it's like, okay, but there's impact because now this new group is viewed as just like everybody else. And there has to be this value you can get by specialness and winning and aura. And you just kill it by having all these new people come in and lose. That's why, like I said, if I ever were to get in that spot in the next life, I'm going to be like, I want to push. I'll take here's what I'm worth. I'm worth $3 million a year, but pay me 1.6. I want to win. I want to win matches. I want to raise. I want my hand raised. I want to hear my music beforehand, and I want only a couple times a year to see my back on the mat. That's what I would take. A push is better than money, in my opinion, because look at it now. Everyone's like, okay, David Finlay's here. He's just a jag, as we talk. Just a jag.
And look, and this is to your point. I believe it was on Busted Open this week. They were talking about the promo between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and essentially Roman calls CM Punk old in the promo, and then that is supposed to get CM Punk upset because he doesn't know that he's 45, and he ends up punching, and the thing is, Roman's 40, which is really
all right.
But whatever. So he ends up punching Roman, and he falls down. Well, you just got knocked down and almost knocked out by the old guy. That doesn't make you look good. You know what I'm saying? So you always got to build and put the other guy over, because when you get hit or when you get knocked down or when you lose, people can't go, oh, well, you just lost to the old guy, or you just lost to the bum, or you just lost to,
or you beat a bum. You beat a bum.
Yeah. You devalue what is going on. So again, it's always about building the guy up that you're facing and putting them over. And in this right here, you've done nothing for the dogs. This is a new group. They were supposed to feel a little bit special. You got them from New Japan. They were great in New Japan. They were absolutely fantastic in New Japan. And they don't feel and honestly, they feel like a rusted out aluminum can. That's what they feel like. You see it on the side of the road, you kick it to the side, you keep moving.
Yep.
All that being said, let's get into the men's world championship match. This was blood. This was gore. This was good. This was a really good match. There was a lot of foreshadowing in this match, specifically around the diamond ring that MJF has. That was what was utilized to knock Hangman Page out, and then they proceeded to choke him. There was a lot of homages paid to prior hardcore matches.
Yep.
You had the dog collar match. You had
MJF's Terry Funk outfit was cool.
Yes. You had very indie in the halogen lights that were being used. There were exploding tables and barbed wire and all the things, everything you can think of that they basically threw homage to, which was fantastic. But in the end, Hangman loses. And I think this is the stupidest shit ever. Like, my note is, look, I think this is the stupidest shit ever because you have a guy who you've, since the iteration of your company, have built your company around. Hangman has been a guy that you've built your company around. And MJF has been too. And you add this stipulation in, and now Hangman cannot do anything else as far as the World Championship goes ever, according to this agreement. Now, in the post match, Tony Khan tries to walk it back, which I think again is fucking stupid. Like, why even have it then? If you're gonna walk back what you set up, why would you even set it up, you idiot? So he tries to walk it back, and he was like, "There was nothing signed. It was just a gentleman's agreement." That is fucking retarded to me. Like, you can't go retcon history moments after history just took place. Like, it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
All of this is stupid. The match was fantastic. Them not liking each other, fantastic. They did a good job building this, right? But the stipulation is dumb as shit, and you've hurt yourself. You've essentially cut your legs out from underneath you, and then Tony Khan looks like a freaking, what do you call him, a jag? He looks like a jag inside of the post show presser, where he's like, "Oh, it's just a gentleman's agreement. It can, things could happen." Like, bro, what? Then why even have the stipulation? Why do it? To me, I thought the way this ended was absolutely dumb as shit. You can tell I'm frustrated by it.
Yeah, no, it's listen, the match itself in ring, everything was solid. I did not need to see the syringe through the lip. That's the only thing I would have just said. Okay, guys, let's cut that, and everything else is good. Come on, Tony. There's a word that starts with the E. It's called edit. The producer, like, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to see that. But other than that, the match was great. You're absolutely right. Tony Khan made a storm with his comments it's not what you do. You have the stipulation, you go with it. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, it was dumb. But in the end, you go with it. You make your decision, you say it. And then in the end, in the presser, when you are asked about it, you say, Hangman Page agreed to the stipulation. He will no longer have, maybe you hint at it, you say, until management makes a decision otherwise, until something compelling makes me think about something different. This is what it is, and that's what he lived to. A man's word is a man's word. Now he just looks wishy-washy, and that's kind of how he looks. Tony Khan presents wishy-washy. Like, that's how he is. He is a guy that is the booker, but he doesn't portray, like, look, Triple H is a bodybuilder. Vince McMahon is a bodybuilder. This guy looks like a, quote-unquote, he's a mark. And that's how it is, and you hope that whatever happens next gets figured out. But Hangman Page is great, and he's going to do what he's got to do. And look, it's just, in the end, you and I kind of agree. Like, yeah, there's some hokey things in wrestling. You can wave your magic wand, but you got to suspend disbelief. You got to kind of, at times, make the story work and tell people a story and then stick to it. But listen, man, we both should have predicted that MJF won the match because you got to have him go to the biggest pay-per-view, your WrestleMania in August and in London. So it's fine. The stipulation was stupid. It threw us off. But in the end, it was a great main event, and that's why MJF is a main eventer. He has to keep the belt, maybe even beyond August.
Yeah, look, MJF, fantastic. I don't have a problem with that. Again, my big issue was the stipulation, how it was utilized. I just feel like you have booked yourself now into a bad. Like, you didn't learn anything from when Cody Rhodes did it. When Cody did it, it was shocking. Yeah. But then what happened was it limited what he could do on screen. Right. It limited his character. So you didn't learn anything from it. And to me, it was just a mistake. And a big mistake. And I think ended a good pay-per-view with a huge mistake. Yeah, I think with Cody, the writing was on the wall that he wanted something bigger. Like, you could probably tell at that point when he agreed to that, he probably was like, it's no big deal. I'm going to leave anyway. Like, he probably knew something was going on that, hey, maybe wait a minute, maybe bigger things are ahead for me. All right, we'll take a look at calling the card. Doc got 2 more picks right than I did, so he's cut into my lead, taking it down to 5, 14.5 to 9.5. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk some WWE. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought this entire week of wrestling was dog shit.
It was
and
wild,
It
yeah.
starts with Raw and it ended with SmackDown. I have an issue with the whole Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Oba Femi. I put in the notes its booking is shit. I even posted in our group chat with Kenny. Just help it make sense to me because I think it's silly. So Seth's in the ring. Paul Heyman comes out. Paul Heyman looks great. Like the way he does his makeup and the way he does his facial stuff is unreal. He looks so disheveled and distraught. It's great. Comes out, ends up returning a promo with Seth Rollins to introduce Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar then comes down, cleans house with all the black masked men, gets in the ring with Seth Rollins, stands in the ring with Seth Rollins as Oba Femi's music hits. So now we're standing around as Oba Femi is doing his entrance to the ring, which is a long walk. During this, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins are just standing across from each other, like not fighting. Like Brock's whole thing was to take out Seth, and instead they're just kind of sharing the ring together. Oba gets in the ring and ends up taking Brock Lesnar out. Again, issues I have. Oba Femi and Seth Rollins at this moment in time have zero correlation. Brock and Seth sharing the ring, Brock not taking out Seth Rollins, instead waiting a minute or however long it takes Oba Femi to get to the ring. Oba Femi's walk to the ring was a bit of an issue for me. And look, I thought him laying Brock Lesnar out was the way you do it. That was probably the one thing I was like, yeah, that makes sense. To me, it was just a means to an end, and I thought it was dumb. I thought for booking purposes and continuity purposes, again, dog shit. I thought this was silly. What did you think, and what do you make of Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Oba Femi? I like Brock Lesnar, Oba Femi for WrestleMania. I thought the way we got there was silly.
Listen, I thought that was probably the best part of the week because
exactly.
That's where we're at.
Right. That was the best part.
Many people were disappointed because I think they just wanted to introduce the element of maybe a tease to disappoint people. But look, man, Oba Femi got made. I felt like it was a good segment. Yeah, you could have did things differently, but for what it was, Oba Femi, Brock Lesnar is what we wanted. That's what I want to see at WrestleMania. It's box office. I thought Oba Femi putting his putting his leg on Brock. I thought the execution of seeing Brock Lesnar try to jump up that high was pretty sweet. And look, Oba Femi's a big dude. The question mark is going to be you have to pay it off. Oba Femi has to win at WrestleMania. So we shall see if he gets made officially at Mania. Look, Oba Femi is somebody that is believable. The fans were into it, so that's what made it better. It saved it. I tend to agree with what you were saying in terms of the booking, but the crowd loved it. They were cheering. They went into it, and when he powerbombed Brock Lesnar, it was at the same moment that when Brock did it to Cena or when Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. It had that kind of moment, and so I just think that everything can always be better, looked at differently. But the whole purpose was let's get Oba Femi and let's trick people to think that it's Seth Rollins. But in the end, the only thing that would make this terrible is if it's Brock, Seth, and Oba in a triple threat, it's ruined. It's just got to be Oba versus Brock. Oba goes over. That's the simple formula. Keep it simple, stupid, and let's make a new star.
Yeah, look, the hard work is going to be coming, right? You have to make Oba Femi now. Like you have given us all of the breadcrumbs, and you have said this guy is going to be the future. You now have to follow through on it. He has to win at Mania. Brock Lesnar cannot politic his way into a victory here. If he does, then we have problems. I don't have it on the rundown, but I did want to get your quick take on the CM Punk Roman Reigns promo. At a certain, we kind of touched on it a little bit when we're talking AEW. I get where they were trying to go and I get what they were trying to do. But at a certain point, when CM Punk gets out of the ring because Roman is trying to leave and exit, and CM Punk ends up calling him his young boy and essentially forcing him back in the ring, to me, you really did kind of discredit, you did kind of take away some of that luster from Roman Reigns. Like Roman Reigns walks in the room and he is the alpha. It kind of felt, and that's what his whole character has been based on. It kind of felt to me, I want to get your sense. It kind of felt to me in this promo, CM Punk kind of out alphaed him a little bit and almost made Roman a bit of a beta. And it just didn't land right for me. But I'm not saying that it was bad. I'm not saying that it was wrong. It just didn't land right. When I shut off Monday Night Raw, I was like, I don't think I would have did it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really like it.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Exactly. And it's sometimes, when you have these meetings, it's a law of diminishing return. You've already had a promo battle that was A+. You can only really go down from there. So the build is through promos, and they're like, well, CM Punk can do promos. So I get it, but eventually I just think the content could have been better. The ideas could have been better. It's just, the notion is that CM Punk is a little better on the mic than Roman Reigns. And that's kind of how they wanted to portray it, how they got there, maybe a little clunky. But in the end, once you had CM Punk talk about Roman Reigns and say, hey, I'm going to put you in the ground next to your family, that was good on the promos. You're not going to really top that too much. So now, remember, there are ways to be able to build a story not in the ring with two guys holding a mic. Like real simple stuff. CM Punk is enjoying time with his wife on a day off. There's Roman Reigns just standing there, looking at him like, what the hell is this guy doing? You can do so much stuff outside the ring, like CM Punk's hanging out with the crew. Real simple stuff. Oh, what do you know? What have we seen online for the last 2 years? Man, Bayley really likes and loves CM Punk. Oh, they're just hanging out, or doing some training. You can have like, oh man, I'm really, you could have a quick segment vignette. CM Punk is in the ring and Bayley's talking about, hey, you got to be careful with Roman, the spear out of anywhere. Boom, there's Roman Reigns in the training facility. You got to have some outside type stuff because this is cookie cutter. It's like, I'm going to top you and I'm going to say this and you're going to say that.
You a job at WWE?
Yeah, you can do more stuff. And I just feel like there can be some psychological manipulation. You could even have, just a simple montage would be, hey, 3 minutes of Roman Reigns training going, dog, you're old as shit. You think you can do this? This is what I do before 6 a.m. You know what I mean? And you could just have a fake clock that says 5:43. Be like, dog, I'm in the prime of my career. You're old. You're still, and I would even, listen, man, this is WWE. I would have brought, and no offense, and I know what you think of this, but I would have brought up the dead dog. I would have been like,
oh, yeah, they were. There was conversation that they were supposed to do that.
Yeah, I would do it.
And they
like,
do it.
No, listen, you got to do it. You got to push the button. You would be like, listen, bitch, while you're crying about your old bitch, I'm here working. You know what I mean? And you just gotta make it where people are like, ooh, but it's all cookie cutter. It's all cookie cutter, and it's all like, I hold the mic and I make my facial expressions. You can do so much stuff. You're WWE. It's real simple. I mean, I would just like it where, CM Punk is rolling up to his crib and he's got like the $40,000 car, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns just shows up in like a $500,000 car, rolls down the window and laughs and goes, kind of like the air of like, I'm not really taking this seriously because I know I'm going to whip your ass, kind of that little thing. So you just could do so much more. It's WWE, you have the height of creativity, and yet you just got two guys standing there. You're old, Phil, and then he punches them. And then also too, go back and watch it. CM Punk's reaction when Roman Reigns falls kind of felt like I knocked him down with this punch. You know what I mean?
I was surprised.
It was surprised. Like, no, like he should have stood up. Like he needed to look stronger in the physicality department. And that's how I viewed it.
Yeah, to me, like I said, I get what they were trying to do. It just didn't land right.
It's boring. Right. It's cheap. It sounds cheap. It's like literally we have used all the cookie cutter ways to build matches, and they're not doing anything. This is WrestleMania. Like, pull out some special type stuff. Hell, I would even have a joke. Like, you know what it is? Like, you just sit there and go, like, Roman Reigns is sitting there having a coffee, and he's like, you know what, today I'm thinking, and he's sitting there with a friend, he's like, I feel like I want to troll CM Punk today, and you just see him on a phone and just tagging CM Punk in a tweet going, listen to this, I'm going to call this guy a bitch right now, and just laughing. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm just going to tweet out right now to the world that CM Punk's a bitch, and then just laugh, and then have him get his coffee, and they're like, $29.99, sir, and then the guy's like, hey, you drink coffee? He's like, yeah. Only the best for the tribal chief, and you walk off. Fun stuff. You can do so much stuff.
there's so much you could do. And look, I wouldn't mind if Roman Reigns opened up the door to his leukemia diagnosis, right? Be like, look, man, I had a death sentence.
There you go.
Me I had leukemia.
CM Punk should do that. Yeah,
dead.
Yeah,
but look, like even death can't take me. You know what I'm saying? Something along those lines. The whole thing with Roman's character is he's supposed to be like the height of arrogance.
Exactly. So Roman Reigns brings up the dog. 2 weeks later, CM Punk brings up leukemia, saying, "Man, this world would have been so much better if the cancer would have took the cancer would have took your dumb ass." Dude, you get so much. Like, there's
so much more you could do.
Yes. And then hopefully maybe someone listens and does it. We'll see.
Look, the other thing I thought that was special on SmackDown was we have new tag champs, Damian Priest, R-Truth. They end up beating the MFTs. I don't know how I feel about the tag team. I find it interesting. I find it funny, but I think this was the great call. You needed to get the belts off of the MFTs.
Yeah.
You needed to, because their shtick, their gimmick is stale. You essentially have Solo, and you've got Tama Tonga, and then you've got 3 other dudes in a group that aren't doing shit.
Right.
And so you got to figure something out here, because there's too much talent there to not do anything with it. I thought it was a good call to get the belt off of these guys. What do you make of Damian Priest and R-Truth getting the win, and just, I guess, maybe their tag team as a whole? Because like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It feels like an odd couple for sure, but now they're your tag champs, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, hometown pop for R-Truth. I think it's cool. Yeah, absolutely. You said it. It's cool. It's something interesting, and also too at the same time, you could also have this end up being a feud between Truth and Damian Priest. So you have a built-in situation where this can go well in a lot of ways. And then the other thing to me is, I just didn't think the Randy Orton shit was good all throughout SmackDown. I just was like, this is not, I mean, yes, you took out Cody Rhodes, but the whole narrative throughout, I mean, what's the point of breaking Matt Cardona's arm? Could you, not Matt Cardona, it should have been somebody else. Like, and then the last thing is, listen, the Randy Orton stuff, I get it. It feels like it took every interaction and every build should help the match be more enticing. I felt like, all I can say is, in the most direct ways, it felt like it took it down a notch. And then second of all, again, the edit button. I don't need to be visualizing Jelly Roll's junk in any way on anybody's backside. I thought that whole thing should have been cut out. I would not have gone now. That's the piss break match. If that's the WrestleMania match, that'll be okay. Piss break. I don't care about Jelly Roll and Kit Wilson. You're like, what the fuck? That's not WrestleMania standard. That's not WrestleMania build. That's not a WrestleMania promo. That just killed SmackDown. In my notes, it was like, I don't want to visualize Jelly Roll in any of that capacity. And then for Jelly Roll to use that line is crazy. To be like, I tapped your mom. It's like, what the hell? That's the cheapest, dumbest shit you can do, man.
Got to be toxic.
Got to be toxic, right? Toxic. There you go.
Yeah, look, I thought SmackDown after we got new tag champs, it just took a nosedive.
Yep.
A lot of it didn't make sense. I didn't like a lot of it. To your point, everything with Randy Orton didn't make sense. It just didn't work for me. I shouldn't say it didn't make sense. It just didn't work. And breaking Matt Cardona's arm, like, what are you doing? So is Matt Cardona going on vacation? Are we not going to see him now for the next 6 weeks? You hardly used him anyways.
Oh, right.
So like, what was the point? Like, there was no point there. You had a segment with Jade Cargill where she's now backed up by Meechin and B-Fab. She's just been feuding with Meechin and B-Fab. She's only had matches with Meeches and B-Fab for the last 6 months. Why is Meechin and B-Fab beating up Rhea Ripley for Jade? Like, that doesn't make sense. What we got this week with WWE, so many holes in so much stuff. None of it makes sense. Like I said, the Jade and Meechin and B-Fab, I don't get it. You can't explain it to me. I thought the women's tag match was kind of trash. Very early in the match, you had Charlotte and Alexa come out, and that was supposed to disrupt and interrupt the match, only for them to then wrestle for another 10 minutes. Like, what? Doesn't make sense. And then they get into a brawl. I thought that was stupid. We talked about the Randy Orton stuff. It's whatever. And then you close the show where Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre essentially fall to their death from some scaffolding. and we don't know what's going on. You have all these guys standing outside of this fenced off area. Nobody thinks to climb a fence. Like, as this is unfolding, my whole thing was, and I said it out loud, I was like, why doesn't anybody climb a fence? Why doesn't anybody jump over a fence? It's not like it's a tall fence. It's like a 5.5 foot tall fence. Just somebody climb the fence. It'll be okay. Nobody climbed the fence. Everybody was there leaning up against the fence, like, oh my God, as Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu essentially fell to their death. So I thought both Raw, SmackDown, and I guess to maybe a lesser extent, Dynamite was poopy. I guess, what was your show of the week, man? Because it was a tough week in wrestling.
Yeah, no, it was rough. I would say, just in regards to the opening segment, just give it to Raw, and Oba Femi can do the thing. And then the other thing too is, man, Sami Zayn is cold as ice, dude. Nobody likes him. Nobody's interested. Yep. It's like, dude, you got to make him heel. It's just the way it is. He's got to do some damage. So we shall see. I was really shocked at how the crowd's not into him, not into the haluva kick, not into Jack. And I get it, it's because of Trick, but that match at WrestleMania should probably be 5 minutes, if that. Opener. And I'm sorry, but
that should be one of your free matches on ESPN or ESPN2 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. You need Trick Williams to get it's the entrance, so the opening match. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, Raw is the show of the week. Hit me, cause with this week's professional wrestling news and notes, I'm very curious, what made your list?
So we've got a weird update on Britt Baker and AEW, and this comes straight from her Twitter. Yeah. With WWE, or with AEW's Revolution 2026 seeing the return of absent stars such as Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, Will Ospreay, a fan questioned Britt Baker on why she hasn't returned home yet to the company. And in response to this, Baker wrote, "Not up to me." Back in February, Tony Khan told the Battleground podcast that he really likes Britt and would love to have her back in the company, but didn't say when he expects this to happen, nor why Baker has been off TV for all this time. So it really sounds like there is a situation that has not been resolved between the two of them or within the locker room. Really, really weird. She sounds like she's 100% healthy, and she sounds like she's ready to go. But sounds like Tony Khan is maybe stalling this out. Danhausen recently did an interview, and he basically said for 2 years, Tony Khan shelved him with no vision of using him whatsoever, and he used the whole medical extension as part of a way to shelve him. And it took a lot of Danhausen just kind of being like, what are we doing? I want to go work. Let me go work. And it sounded like Tony Khan really hampered his ability to get booked and hampered his ability to move on from AEW. So it might be a situation there. Not 100% sure. We'll have to continue to monitor it. And a WWE superstar was heavily fined for breaking an unwritten rule. Ahead of Friday Night SmackDown, Andrew Zarian shared an update noting that the word going around at the show is that Tama Tonga had been fined by WWE for sharing a video of rehearsals. Zarian noted that the fine was significant, as well as an unwritten rule about not recording during rehearsals. He tweeted, "Word going around at SmackDown is that Tama Tonga was fined by WWE for posting a video of rehearsals last week. Was told it was a significant fine. WWE has an unwritten rule about not recording or posting rehearsals." Ahead of his appearance on last week's WWE SmackDown, Tama Tonga shared footage of the show's rehearsal on his TikTok account. This video showed Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, among others, in the ring participating for the show, which would see Orton turn on Rhodes ahead of the WrestleMania clash. To me, this just seems like the most boner move you've ever made in your entire life. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. Why would you do that? It's just like to me, it sounds like a little kid screaming for attention. I don't know what Tama Tonga was thinking here. I don't know what he was doing. This might have played into them losing the tag belts.
Yep,
Who knows? So, a really, really weird situation. But that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
One little addition here, unfortunately, overnight, it was announced, unfortunately, Dennis Condrey, one of the founding members of the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, one of the early tag teams I got into. The Midnight Express was always pretty cool. So I look at it and say, man, really.
Passed away?
Yep, Dennis Condrey passed away.
Oh, wow. I didn't see
1952 to
that.
2026. Yep, Dennis Condrey of the Midnight Express.
day, dude.
Yeah, sad day. And then if you're, obviously RIP and obviously somebody that paved the way for some great tag teams. I'm really excited to see Dennis Rodman now of the NWO and the Detroit Pistons show up as a new member of the WWE Hall of Fame.
What did you make of that? Because I seen that and I was like, dude, now you're just stretching. And like,
Yeah. You're trying to. It's
like,
pub. It's pub.
like, whatever.
Listen, he's not a Hall of Famer, but it's cool. His speech will be legendary. Hopefully, it's going to be raunchy and weird and crazy. So it'll be cool. Hopefully, he comes out to the NWO music, man. That'll be sweet. So I had to throw that in
his
there.
own music, so I would assume so.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's go. It'll be a good opportunity. And then if you're a fan of, obviously, the Outside podcast, Oba Femi showed up on Stephanie McMahon's podcast, and Cody Rhodes did a nice interview with Chris Van Vliet, a lot of inside baseball type stuff, so a lot of good content going on, and it's real interesting stuff. And then, obviously, too, for the gamers, it sucks because, we were joking around that, online, the geeks found a way to kind of get through the game faster to unlock all the characters. And it involved Eric Bischoff getting opponents beating Eric Bischoff and setting the mode to easy. Well, people were doing it, and obviously WWE, who could not fix many other things quickly, found out, gamers are, beating Eric Bischoff in 2 seconds. So they made a patch and made it so that you have to wrestle at least for 60 seconds in order to move through the game and get all your points. So WWE 2K26 has been a shit show. Stuff that you can unlock, you still got to do more work for. It's a money grab. People are unhappy. So, you guys know, every single March, I send you a video of me sitting on my dumb ass with all the entrances I want to see. This is the first year in 3 years. I have not put a single dollar. I didn't buy the game, and I don't miss it. And I'm like, man, I want to get into it, but it's a money grab. It's real simple. You used to be able to buy all the wrestlers and just start playing. Now you got to buy the pack and then do more work to get the pack. So, the geeks online are not happy. I'm not happy, and WWE takes forever to fix all the glitches. But when they find out, we're not making as much money, they fix it up in 5 seconds. That's the nature of the corporate business. Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSJROZ. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. Fan friendly. We don't do that to you guys. Never ever. Bring you the info. Bring you the entertainment. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it. Can't wait to break down the world of wrestling next week. I think it has to be better. I think this week was kind of not the best week creatively for all the companies, and hopefully they turn it around because the noise was hot this week. Thanks, everybody. Can't wait to record next week's Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, which is featured on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.